Hey guys, what's going on? GovKid Method here, and welcome to another bid of the day where I pick one government contract opportunity that I think is great, and I break it down for you so that you can either go after it or maybe you can learn something to start going after and bidding on contracts yourself. In today's video, I have selected a janitorial services requirement, and that is from request in the comments of our last video by Mr. Jeff Fennell. So thanks for your suggestion, Jeff. Today we're going to be covering your topic. So let's go ahead and get right into it. As you can see by the title, this is janitorial services for Oconee County out of South Carolina. We can see right off the bat that this is published on May 29th and this is due June 15th. So today's June 4th. So you have a little bit of time to work on this and put this together if you're interested in going after it. I have chosen this to be the bid of the day because I do think it's a good opportunity, and I'll point out a few reasons why as we get into the video. Let's see what else we have here. They're telling us this is a total small business set aside, so you don't have to be a woman-owned small business or a veteran-owned small business to go after this. As long as you're a small business, you can compete for it. They're giving us this standard janitorial NAICS code. And then they're also telling us that the work is going to be performed at Mountain Rest, South Carolina. I have no idea where that is. So I'm just going to quickly pull that up in a map and to show you guys as well so that we all can kind of get our bearings here. So looks like... Okay, yeah, so South Carolina is here. So it's right on the western tip of the state, sharing a border with, it looks like Georgia and, not too far away from Tennessee and, of course, North Carolina as well. So it just gives us a little bit of an idea. I always like to take a look and see where is the work going to be done. They're telling us specifically Andrew Pickens Ranger District Office. And, we could have plugged that in probably to Google Maps, but that's okay. One thing I'll point out right off the bat, they're not giving us, also, if you didn't realize, this is for the Department of Agriculture, that big old stamp logo over here. One thing, though, that I'm noticing right away is this description is very short. Oftentimes, you will see, the whole requirement or the whole statement of work or the whole, SF 1449 information blown out in the description right in this page here, the opportunity page. All they gave us is literally one sentence, and then they gave us 7 attachments. I did quickly open those up to make sure that everything was good to go for the video, and it's actually good, I can tell you, the way that they did this, because they're breaking everything up kind of into its micro area. So it'll allow us to quickly kind of go through everything. So 7 attachments may seem like a lot, but we're going to quickly go through them. They're just broken up. And in this case, it's actually good because it helps us to find the information a lot easier that we're going to be looking for to bid this janitorial contract. Okay, so, and then the last thing I really have here is that I know it was a source of sought, which is the first stage of a bid. There's 4 stages of a bid: source of sought, pre-sell, solicitation, which is what we're looking at now, and then the award. So this was stage 1. Looks like they went straight to stage 3, the solicitation. And the primary POC on this is the contracting officer or the contracting specialist, and that is Eldora Dabbs. And this is the person you would be emailing your bid to unless they give you some other direction. So I think we've covered this enough to start jumping into the documents. They're listed attachment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have a body and a cover. So I think it's only fair to start with attachment 1. So let's go ahead and jump over here. So attachment 1 is the statement of work. Every contract has a statement of work, also known as a period of work statement, or a performance of work statement rather. And this is telling you the work that needs to be done, okay? If you really need to get into the details of what the requirement is. in this case, what are the janitorial duties and maybe the frequency that they're going to be needing from me as a janitorial service provider. Well, you're going to find that in this statement of work. So that's what we're looking at right now. You can always look for this document. It's almost always attached, and it's called the statement of work in all bids. So feel free to look for that, especially if you're searching on Beta.Sam. If you're over on Unison, they don't always offer that as much, but probably half of the time they do. So I'm just trying to get you guys familiar with some of these contracting documents so that you can be confident and not intimidated by them, because you're going to see them over and over and over again. So it's good that you know what they stand for. This is only 4 pages long. This is not intimidating. It's not a big deal. And as I scroll down, I'm quickly able to see, wow, they're really giving me exactly what duties they want, which I love. I hate having to go through stuff and trying to piece a puzzle together of what it is that they're asking for. They're very transparent here. And you'll see on the bids of the day that those are the type of opportunities that I tend to choose, because those are the type of opportunities that I prefer, because that way I know what I'm bidding. I know that I'm not leaving something out. So let's just take a look at this. The first paragraph, they're telling us supplies. You are responsible for your supplies. And they're going into some basic details. I quickly want to go through this and point out the things that are really important though. Cleaning hours, they're essentially telling you it's closed during holidays, but any day of the week is suitable Monday through Friday. So that's kind of telling us that, okay, do they want these services 1 day per week? Because that would be really good to know. And now they're telling us, okay, there's this thing called the front office, and it's 3,300 square feet. It's mostly carpet. And then there's 430 square feet of hard surface. So they're telling us about the women's restroom in the front office, 2 toilets, and surfaces. Clean them once per week. All right, good to know. Clean 1 sink once per week. All right, so we're seeing this once per week. Fill the toilet paper, empty the trash can, clean the mirror, all once per week. And it turns out it's that same frequency for the men's restroom as well. And then it looks like for this food service area, they're also adding this once per week clean exposed surfaces. They want you to vacuum and wet clean all floors once per week. Okay, so that's a little bit new information. Empty the trash cans, clean the microwave. All right, so far this does not seem like a big deal. These are not huge areas in terms of square footage, and it's also the frequency is only once per week. So this is at the front office. So now we have the work center, which is 4,800 square feet. Okay, that's a little bit bigger. They're telling us this is mostly linoleum. Okay, so that could be a bigger deal instead of it being carpet. But then they're repeating. They're saying the women's restroom, all right, clean all this once per week. And then the men's restroom, clean this once per week. And again, we have a food service area. Looks like once per week. They're saying clean the inside and the outside of the refrigerator and microwave monthly. So, okay. So these are the details. I know it's maybe a little bit redundant, but this is going to help you immensely when you're pricing this out. But now we have a janitor room. Just keep it clean and organized. For this conference room, it looks like once per week, wet cleaning and vacuuming. They do have some hallways. Clean the drinking fountain. Clean the office areas at the work center. Storage room, 4 entryways and adjoining walkways. But guys, this is not a huge thing. And if you're in janitorial services, you're probably seeing okay, this is not a huge contract based on what we're seeing so far. And then they're saying to sweep outside. So all the walkways at the entrance, and it says all walkways as well, which, I'm not sure how large that is. That could be maybe a little bit of time, but it's probably not a huge amount of space. Okay, at the engine bay, empty the trash cans every other week. Both facilities, tile floors, they're saying, in addition to weekly sweeping and wet cleaning, and then once annually November, they want all the tile floors to be thoroughly vacuum swept, wet cleaned, waxed, and buffed in the work center and the main office. So they're saying to me annually every November, right before Christmas or the holidays hit, they want everything waxed and buffed. So that's something that you would want to price out into your bid as well. And then they're saying see attachment 3, which we will get to, for special COVID-19 disinfection procedures if there's been somebody in the area that's been tested positive. So this is quickly the statement of work. Some of these other attachments I'm going to go through even quicker to keep this video short, but this is a very helpful document, so I spent a few minutes on it. So let's go ahead and look at attachment 2. Attachment 2 is just a map. It's showing us this main office. They're showing us these hallways that they're referring to, front desk area. You can basically find those areas that they were calling out. This is that engine bay. We saw that. Here's one of the conference room. Here's the bathrooms. Here's the entrance and the visitor area. So you could get a glance at this, but it just looks like a big old square. So it doesn't look terribly difficult. They're showing us this nice square for the front office is 58 feet by 58 feet. And then this work center, this map is a little screwy because they're saying that this side is 96 feet and this side is 35 feet. But this 35 feet is not equal to this 35 feet. So I'm guessing it's not exactly this shape. Side's probably a little bit longer or something. But it doesn't really matter, I don't think, because it's just not a huge facility, right? So this map is here if you were to bid on it. Next, attachment 3. Even though it says attachment 2 here, it is saved as attachment 3. So they're saying here is some procedures for COVID-19. You'll want to read through this, but I'm not going to dive into this right now. Just know that they are here, and they want you to wear certain types of gloves and follow certain procedures when you're cleaning. If if you're dealing with a facility that has had like I said, a person who is tested positive. So just know that this is here, and you can dive into that as you want. And if necessary, if it affects your pricing, make sure to include anything that is, going to be different than a non-COVID-19 type setting. So the next attachment here is a past experience questionnaire. This is a past performance questionnaire, also known as a PPQ, and they're telling us to list 3 relevant projects that you've completed within the last 3 years. This is very typical. Oftentimes when bidding on service contracts, they will want to know your past experience. And in this sheet, they just want to see 3 relevant experiences in the past, 5 years? 3 years, yeah, in the past 3 years. So this can be commercial experience as well. Could even be personal past performance. You're supposed to get a neutral rating if you don't have any past performance. We will look a little bit at that though, but just know that they will want you to fill this out and to send that in. And they're just asking some basic information. What was the contract number, if there was one, and what was the award amount? What is the client and the address that you serviced, and a point of contact? And then provide a few sentences describing the work, as well as the dates that you completed the work. So they want that for each of the 3. Really not a big deal. So this was attachment 4. Then attachment 5 is the wage determination for Abbeville, Cherokee, Greenwood, and Oconee counties. And this is Oconee County. So I talk about it all the time, but a wage determination is essentially a minimum wage that you must pay in accordance with a labor category. So if this is an SCA wage contract, that means it is bound by this wage determination. So then all you would have to do is find a labor category in here. Let me just Control F, janitorial. So there's janitor, and they're giving us 1043. There's housekeeping aide. Let's see. There's laborer, grounds maintenance, maid or houseman. So it looks, they're putting that under general services and support occupations. So you could either use one of those, or if you were to find something better, that would be the minimum wage that you would have to pay the employee, okay, the contracted employee to do this work, so that you would be in compliance with the SCA wage. It does not look like in this case they are giving you a labor category. Sometimes they will highlight it or give you an equivalent, a wage equivalent, and I'm not seeing that here. Yeah, so for a second I thought that was highlighted because of my own Control F. So in addition to that wage, if you're not familiar with wage determination, you also need to pay health and welfare. So if you scroll down, that's telling you that's $4.54 for most cases that you would pay in addition to, for example, that $10. And then you also have to pay them 2 weeks vacation after 1 year of service, and then also honor these 10 holidays. That's how you would read this wage determination, and that's how it directly affects your pricing. You have to offer all of that. So if it's $10 plus $4.54, that's $14.54 minimum you have to be paying them, okay? That's kind of how that works. So coming back, this is the SF 1449 cover page. It's just 2 pages. And all you do with this is you sign, you date, you put in your contracting information here, which is just your business, your address, your phone number. That's kind of how you fill this out. You don't fill out any of this information. That's for them to fill out. That's how you do a SF 1449. This is telling us that this is, let me zoom in, small business set aside, as we know. It's giving us the solicitation number, the due date. If this was a woman-owned small business, they would have checked the box over here. Here's the NAICS code. So just, some of the basic high-level information. They're telling us this is the USDA address specifically, so you could look that up in the map. So that's really what this is. Not a big deal, but you do have to fill this out, sign it, PDF it, and supply it in your email response as an attachment with your bid. That's why this is here, okay? And now we're off to the last attachments. See, we're quickly going through this, and it's really hopefully not a big deal, or if you thought it was a big deal at first, hopefully I'm breaking it down in a way that's really not. We're getting to good stuff here because this is a pricing table that they're giving us. And they're also telling us the period of performance. So this work is going to start in less than a month, July 1st. And I really like this because it's a 5-year contract, so a base plus 4 option years. So after the first base year, if they're happy with your service, they have the option to renew the contract, and they can do that for 4 more years, all the way out to 2025. So you could start your GovCon business off of this contract and use this as past performance to go get other contracts and leverage these relationships you're going to build on this contract to build other relationships. You just kind of spider web out. It all starts with 1. So this could be your 1. So let me see. They're telling us June 5th, 3 p.m. There are, let me see. Yeah, questions are due. So if you have questions, submit them by 3 o'clock on June 5th, and they will post those publicly. So you're not on your own. Feel free to ask questions in writing, send it to the contracting officer. They're giving us this table here, which they're calling is the schedule of items. And they're breaking it down for base period 1A and then item base period 1B. So I'm guessing that is for those 2 separate buildings. So we'll go ahead and let me see what it says up here. Government is seeking pricing for contractor provided supplies A and government provided supplies B. Contractor provided supplies A will consist of contractor providing all janitorial supplies that are in accordance with the industrial practices as outlined, and B will consist of government providing said supplies. So they're distinguishing with the supplies because the government's going to provide some, and then you have to provide some, and then you have to provide the work in accordance with that. So you have to account for supplying the supplies yourself in some situations, and then the government supplying other things. And that was something we quickly went over, so maybe I'll quickly go back to that. But that's kind of interesting and unique, the way that they're breaking that up. But in addition to that, they're telling us that they want a monthly price That's what MO stands for. So your unit price would be for 1 month, and then your extended price would be 1 month times 12 months for the year. And then these option year 1, 2, 3, 4, it would be the same thing. Those are just those future years. Then what you do down here is you add up the totals for A, all the A's, and then looks like all the B's. The proposals are due June 15th at 9 a.m. and you got to email those to Eldora, as we know. And then right here, they're telling us exactly what they want in your proposal response. So if you want to respond to this thing, okay, you should not be sitting with a blank sheet of paper or a blank Word doc. I want you to take these things and copy and paste them literally into a Word doc. Just like this. And this becomes your outline, okay? And then you start to, you know, if nothing else, this is an outline for yourself to work from, okay? Because if you want, you really could just attach these 5 things. Since we know the past performance questionnaire is a separate attachment, we know the schedule of items is that table that we were just looking at right here. That's the schedule of items. We know that SF1449, they're telling us must be signed and dated. Well, we just took a look at that. That's this first page. So these are all actually really nice forms they've already created for us. Contractor information. Let me see what that is. Okay, that's actually right here. So that's another form with your name and your cage code and all that type of stuff. Really not a big deal, so they want that. And then amendments. If there were any changes to this contract, they would be included as an amendment and they would be included as an attachment. There have not been any changes. If we scroll down, we can see there would be multiple solicitations down here to show updated ones if there was an amendment, and there's just not. So you don't have to worry about that. So this Word doc, it becomes your working, marching orders. And what you could do is either just, honestly, what I would do is I would just complete all the forms in their own respective formats and save them as separate attachments, and then write an email to contracting with, 4 different attachments, 5 different attachments, however many it ends up being, and let them know here's your response, okay? Or you could try to do like a document control type thing where you make everything a PDF and then you merge all of those documents together into one document like this, in which case you would want to put it in some sort of order like we have with this outline, and then just attach the one document. That could be actually more confusing than helpful, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. But in some situations, that would be the way to go. But with this, I would just upload 4 or 5 documents, complete all these as we kind of touched on, and you would be good to go. So let me see. I'm still in this last document that we were looking at. They're telling us evaluation of proposals. So this is kind of, what I wanted to get to next is, hey, how is the winning bidder going to be decided? The government will award a contract resulting, basically, what they're going to be doing is best value. So they're saying whose offer conforming to the solicitation will be most advantageous to the government, considering price and other factors. And that's going to consider what they consider to be your technical capability, your relevant experience and past performance, and your price. Honestly, I don't know why they're breaking out relevant experience and past performance, because they very much are one and the same typically, but it looks like they've taken a stab at differentiating the two, so we'll quickly take a look and see what that is. But first, they're saying the technical capability is you need to describe the equipment, the supplies, and the manpower to perform the work. This information can be included on the relevant experience questionnaire or maybe submitted to supplement this form as necessary. Well, that's kind of interesting because you would not include essentially your approach to doing this work in a relevant experience questionnaire. So this is news to me, and this actually would affect how I put my proposal together. I'm reading this for the first time with you guys, so that kind of makes me tilt my head a little bit. Let's see what else they've got to say. Relevant experience is defined as experience in providing service that is same or similar. Okay, we know that. The offeror will describe their experience and provide details to demonstrate experience with providing the type of service required under this contract. That's what past performance is, guys. I don't know what you're doing here. Let's see what they're calling past performance. As part of the evaluation process, the government will assess each of the offeror's past performance. Documentation shall include, well, this is all the information that they've asked for, except they're saying 5 years instead of 3 years. They're being overly redundant at this point. But they're telling us they're going to look at the project size and scope, customer satisfaction, quality of service and control, and the timeliness of service. I don't know how they're going to look at that because they're not asking you to give them that. So I'm a little perturbed by what they're doing here with these two things. Hey, it's still bid of the day, so we're going to roll with it. Let's see what else we have. Price evaluation factor. The proposal will be evaluated to ensure all requirements. The price proposal will be evaluated for reasonableness. Price is determined reasonable by comparison to estimates prior prices paid. All right, well, that doesn't really tell us that much. So hey guys, if you're reading stuff sometimes and it's a little confusing, or not confusing, but it seems a little, I don't know, overkill in stating, it probably is, okay? Basis of award. So this is really what I wanted to get to. The basis for award will be, they're calling it best value. There's really two ways an award can typically be made. It's either going to be lowest price or it's going to be best value. The difference between those two is lowest price, LPTA, lowest price technically acceptable. That just means, hey, as long as you're found to be technically acceptable, you're quoting the items, apples to apples, and you didn't miss anything, then the lowest price is going to win. Oftentimes they will use this on small scale projects, jobs, often commodity items or commodity type services that it's kind of hard to mess up, or those are kind of not high visibility. But then best value means, hey, we're willing to pay a little bit more possibly if the value to the government is going to be greater dollar for dollar when compared to maybe some of the other competitive offers that are coming in at the same price or a lower price, but the service is a little bit more questionable, which means their technical approach could be a little bit less, or their past performance might not be as great. They're willing to pay a little bit more for a company that's going to knock it out of the park. So that's what best value means, and that's the difference between the two. They're calling this best value, so that means you don't necessarily have to try to go with like super low margins, because they're not just going to be picking the company that has the lowest price. They're going to be picking the company that is going to do the best job at this with a fair and reasonable price, essentially. So that's really good to know when pricing this thing out and putting your pricing strategy together. And guys, the difference between LPTA and best value, that applies to most bids that we're looking at. So that's another one of those things that you can kind of take to the bank and really start learning and putting in your head and learning to look for that, because those usually don't go away, okay? So there is one other evaluation of proposals. I thought I was done. They're telling us your technical capability could be rated based on this. Your relevant experience could be rated based on this. Your past performance could be rated based on this. Which, I don't love. This is a firm fixed price contract, which means they're basically telling you to tell them how much it's going to cost. They're not, telling you exactly, what it's going to take to do this level of effort. You need to tell them. And then we have some clauses that are in effect that I encourage you to read and check out and Google if you don't understand what they mean. I know I skipped over something super important that I know is in here that I want to show you guys, and that's the prior contract information, as well as this proposal site visit. The proposal site visit, they're saying there is no site visit scheduled as of yet. However, it's highly encouraged. So basically what you should do is, if you want to bid this thing, email Elizabeth Burke at this email or call Elizabeth and request a site visit and set one up for yourself and take a half an hour to go through the facility and get all the information you need to really price this thing out the way that you're going to feel comfortable with, okay? And then the next thing is the prior contractor information. This is gold, and this really is probably gonna disturb you quite a bit. So LEB Services was providing this, or is currently providing this, and they're losing the contract. The contract is, up for bid, essentially. Here is the existing contract award number. You could go to FPDS and plug that in if you wanted to. But they're telling you that it's around $4,200 to $4,400 per year. So this is tiny, right? I did see this quickly. Like I said, I didn't look at most of this before recording this, but I did see this and I was floored. I was like, wow, like how in the heck are they doing it for so low? But, I guess it's just because it's only once per week. And, there's 52 weeks in a year, so that's, 52 service calls. We did see those minimum, wage numbers that you have to pay, $10 an hour, plus the health and welfare. So it really kind of comes down to how many hours is this going to take, and it's probably only going to be like a couple hours per week. So if you do the math, maybe that works out with this number. Of course, you have to cover your own business operating costs and overhead associated with this contract. I'm guessing they're super local, or the individual who's performing the work going out there once a week is, it's got to be super local. There can't be any, travel involved or anything like that. That would just be needless. So, if you wanted to, 1099 somebody, or if you've got a W-2 employee in the area, you could just probably send them out for a few hours a week and get this done. This is a 5-year contract, so you could use this contract not to make a whole bunch of money, but you could use this contract to get your foot in the door with the USDA, with some contracting officers, and start marketing your service, seeing what other requirements are, and then use this past performance to also go after other contracts. So that's what I would use this contract for, and it is one of the main reasons I chose this to be bid of the day, because it's something that's such a low dollar value, and it's going to be very easy to manage this contract because you're not doing a whole lot, right? But it gets you set up in the billing system. It gets you all the experience, what it's like to work on a contract. And a lot of you guys, my whole channel and everything is focused on helping small business owners to win their first contract. And your first contract does not have to be a big one. It does not have to be a cash cow. It could just be a foot in the door. And that's why I really liked this. So I quickly want to go, because I'm a little, I was really good on this thing until I saw that part about the technical part where they wanted you to, include pictures and stuff. So ordinarily I would end the video here, but I just really want to go over that one more time and then go back to that PWS and read that through one more time really quickly to see if I missed anything. But again, guys, I'm reading this off the cuff, so I've got most of the information here, painted a pretty accurate picture. Sometimes the devil is in the details, and sometimes you do have to comb through these things a few times. Contractor will describe equipment, supplies, and manpower to perform the work. All right. Well, I don't want you to miss out on that. So honestly, what I would do is I would, if you're going to attach everything as a separate document, I would still have a proposal and call it, ABC company response. Put your cover page, and you're not going to need a table of contents. And then you could do your technical approach. Man, I cannot type today. These are all just kind of like headings, right? So do your technical approach, and this is where you're going to, well, screw it. Let's just call it what they call it, technical capability. And that's where you're going to spell this out, right? So in addition to those 4 or 5 other documents, I want you to create a separate document for your company. That's your technical capability document is what we'll call it, okay? And then I want you to break out your equipment, your supplies, and your manpower. Maybe just tell them for manpower, hey, we're going to have an individual. If you've got a resume, you could put that in here if you really kind of wanted to overkill it a little bit. It might not hurt, but they have not asked for it, so you don't have to. You could just describe your approach to the man hour, how you're going to dispatch, and how that person is going to be there for so many hours per week, and how they, maybe have experience doing this at other facilities. But then you also can break down and describe equipment and supplies. You could list it. If you want to include photos, you can include photos. Unless somehow you want to include that in your relevant experience questionnaire, they're saying otherwise it can be submitted on a separate form, which is what I'm saying to do here. I guess I'll just quickly go back and look at that, because that is not something that you would typically see. This is the relevant experience questionnaire. Let's zoom in. And, this is past performance. This is a PPQ. They're asking for relevant work, within, the last 3 years, right? So it's just a little confusing to me, guys, what they're doing here. Because they're even asking for, let me see. They want credit references, which is kind of interesting. This is a non-typical form, that's for sure. This is not something you typically run up against. But they're saying date completed or scheduled for completion. I mean, this is all past. These are not regarding what you're bidding on. So, honestly, I would, question and maybe go toe-to-toe a little bit about why they're doing this and past performance. I just do not feel comfortable about having a place in that document we just looked at, of being able to describe the equipment, supplies, and manpowers that you're going to provide for this job. Not for the jobs that you did in the past, because that's what that is, but for this job. So I would prefer it that you do what they said as a second option, is to add a supplementary document. So last thing, because I'm really trying to keep this short, they're talking about with the pricing, with the supplies. So I just want to read over the supplies really quickly. The contractor shall furnish all cleaning supplies to fulfill the services. The definition of supplies is all products required. Supplies include but are not exclusive to paper products, consumables like hand soap, other office cleaning, also stuff to clean the floors, etc. Okay, so that's all pretty basic. And what's weird about this is they almost slightly make it sound like, hey, you should just provide the products. Like, we just want you to provide the hand soap. And they could maybe just be telling you this information like, oh, well, we clean this stuff once per week. So we need the product to be able to clean it once per week, right? But they're calling this janitorial service. They're not calling this janitorial products. The way that they have this pricing, it is a little confusing. And you know what? I'm okay with this, guys, because I like being the one to work through this with you and explain this to you, because sometimes things are confusing. That's just the way that they are. Let me try and find that the pricing document again. So in the pricing, they're saying pricing for provided supplies, and in here they're saying provided supplies. So it's a little unnerving for them to call it janitorial services if they're wanting the contractor provided supplies. So honestly, guys, and this is being real, since this dollar value is so small, and it is questionable that this is a service contract, I would ask the question just to be sure, because I mean, this has every shape and look of a janitorial services contract. It's even what they're calling it, but the wording that they're putting in this, it concerns me a little bit. And I don't know why they would just have a contract to provide like soap and stuff, and there's no way that should amount to like $4,000 a year. And I'm very certain that they wouldn't just want you to provide the product. But this is really bothering me in the pricing table. Every single pricing CLIN, they're not referring to any services provided. They're referring to supplies. So I chose this as bid of the day for a reason, as I explained, and I still do believe it's a good opportunity. If it's just to provide the supplies, you could absolutely do that, but I don't think that's that because you have the dollar value, and that would just be insane. So I do think that's to provide the service. And we just looked at those service descriptions. Like, why would they be telling us all this once per week type stuff if they weren't even wanting us to provide the service? So I still believe that they want the service provided, but there's just a few things that I would want to, if I were to bid on this, I would want to make sure. So, hey, you have a period for questions and answers. I would submit the question to contracting and reference the pricing table and essentially say, or ask for clarification. Is this contract to provide the janitorial services in accordance with the statement of work? Or is this contract to provide janitorial supplies only as is being referenced in the pricing table? Okay. I would ask that just to triple check and triple make sure. Okay. Some of these contracts are unsure. So, I cannot read a contracting officer's mind. In my opinion, they are presenting this a little ambiguous, and it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary to call something janitorial services and then to only ask for supplies pricing. And that may not be what they're doing, but that's kind of what it looks like. And they're even reiterating down here for supplies A with supplies B. I see nothing about service. So before you were to spend time writing a proposal responding to this, I would submit the question, and then based on the answer you get to that question, you could proceed accordingly. Again, it is my best bet that this is a services contract, but you never know. And hey, I'm GovKid, but that doesn't mean I can read a contracting officer's mind. And I've seen my share of, bids that were not 100% clear. Most of them actually are not clear, which is why I like being able to be the one to walk you guys through this and just show you how I would handle it. And if you get the answer back to this, that this is a services type contract and they want you to provide the product and service, which it does say in the statement of work, but that pricing table is just a little unclear. And the pricing for the previous contract of only being $4,000 is a little raising an eyebrow, maybe a little concerning, maybe not. And then once you get your answer, you can proceed the way that we've covered. Or hey, if this is just pricing product only, you could, and you wanted to go bid on it, then you could. But I just don't imagine that soap is going to cost that much, right? That's just crazy. So this is an interesting bid of the day. I hope, because it wasn't so cut and dry, I hope it was actually more helpful to you. Hey guys, so this is actually Derek in the future by about a few hours. And I'm just coming back because I was kind of rereading through this, and I do believe that I have it figured out. I actually did call the contracting officer. I haven't heard back yet, but in the process of doing so, I think I did figure this out. So I just wanted to let you know in case you run into something similar in the future. So we were on the right track. This is for the service and it's for the product. And honestly, it's just my fault for not reading into this clarification more thoroughly. So really what they're wanting to know is, give us a price if you provide the service and you provide your own product. And then give us a price if you provide the service and you use the government's product. And then do that for each of the CLINs. So that's what they're really meaning with contractor provided supplies versus government provided supplies. So, price us out for the base in each year to do it all yourself and your own supplies, and then also give us the option to see what the pricing looks like if you just do the service and then you use our own product, because they want to basically see how much you're charging for your product, and they want to see how much you're marking it up, because product really shouldn't be that expensive, as we kind of touched on, and so all of that added up is going to probably be similar to the price that it's currently being done at. The thing is, we don't know in this price if they're using government product or if they're using their own product. That's something that we don't know. So that gives us more insight into that as well. So I just wanted to let you know I did get this thing figured out. I wasn't going to sleep tonight if I didn't make sense of it. So hopefully this makes a lot more sense to you as well. If you have an idea for a bid of the day in terms of a specific type of industry or area, put that in the comments and I will consider that for a future suggestion. Jeff Fennel, this one was for you. Thanks for the suggestion. I hope it was helpful. And you guys watching and listening, if you like GovCon videos, if you're interested in getting into GovCon, consider subscribing to my channel because GovCon is all that I do. And if you appreciated today's bit of the day and you like that video, please hit that like button. It does mean a lot to me. It helps the videos in the ranking. And it's just one way of showing that I'm not just speaking into a vacuum here in outer space, that you guys actually are watching and listening and liking the content that I'm putting out. So appreciate it so much, guys. I will see you in the next video.